So glad you're with us for THV 11 News at noon. I'm Michael Aaron with meteorologist Nathan Scott over in the Weather Center. It's really was a pretty chilly morning, I would say, but nothing compared to what we're going to see later this week, right?
Cold front moved in. Good afternoon, Michael. And that cold front is ushering in some much cooler temperatures out there this afternoon. We are about 20 to 25 degrees cooler than this time yesterday when we already climbed up to the 60s. It's 44 in Little Rock, 37 in Batesville, 39 in Clinton, 49 for you folks in Arkadelphia. And we've got that breeze from the north-northeast, about 10 to 20 miles per hour, gusts pushing close to 30 in Pine Bluff. So that adds a bite to the air because it feels like 31 in Batesville. It feels like 37 in Little Rock. So if you're going to be out and about, make sure you have those heavy winter coats. Highs today may have already been reached in some parts of the region, and that's just because that colder air will continue to filter its way in. Look what happens tonight. Clear skies, and the winds will start to go a little bit lighter. The temperatures will plunge down for your Wednesday morning into the upper teens to lower 20s. I'll let you know how long this cold snap will be sticking around coming up.
Governor Asa Hutchinson will have his weekly COVID-19 update this afternoon. We expect that rapidly growing hospitalization numbers will be a big talking point for him. You can watch that news conference live on THV11.com at 1:30. Some states and countries have started seeing relief from the crippling Omicron caseload, but as of right now, Arkansas is not one of those. In fact, hospitals in our state just saw the largest one-day jump in COVID patients ever. Close to 200 hospitalizations were added yesterday. As for our new cases, the beginning of the week usually brings smaller jumps. More than 3,000 infections were reported yesterday. Those smaller increases are having a move on our active cases. It's moving those in the right direction, those trends. Right now, more than 93,000 Arkansans are dealing with COVID-19. Schools continue to deal with the pandemic as well as we wait for Omicron's peak. With transmission still high right now, many parents are asking if their kids will have to pivot back to virtual learning. The simple answer from local schools right now: we just don't know. Little Rock School District Superintendent gave an update Sunday. He says 1,300 COVID cases have been reported since school resumed earlier this month. The district has never seen numbers quite like this before, and although they are at record highs, they did go down last week.
100 less cases last week, and now going into this week, the next positive is that we're starting with all schools back into being in person again.
Not all districts are seeing a decline in cases. Pulaski County Special School District has almost 400 active cases. The district has already used several AMI days to go virtual earlier this month. Officials say pivoting to virtual again is an option still on the table.
Our COVID team meets every day at 2 o'clock to make that decision, and we look at the number of cases at each individual school and the number of teachers who are out for that day, for the upcoming day.
Now in Saline County, the Bryant School District reports the highest level in our area, 600 active cases in the district. That's actually the third highest among all Arkansas districts, according to the Department of Health. It is worth noting the Bryant district itself currently reports a lower count. That's because it uses a stricter definition of active case than the Department of Health does. School district officials tell us that they are now seeing a decline in cases. For the best protection against COVID-19, the CDC recommends layered masks like the N95. It notes that a snug fit is also crucial, but with so many masks on the market, it can be confusing. Elise Preston takes a closer look at the options with the help of an aerosol scientist.
There are a lot of opinions on what kind of masks offer the best protection against COVID-19.
The most important thing I look for when I'm picking a mask is the amount of protection that it's going to give.
I think anything could be a mask as long as it's just covering your mouth and your nose.
Mechanical engineer Aaron Collins somewhat agrees.
The mask you're wearing is better than no mask at all.
But Collins, a self-described mask nerd, has put his specialty in aerosol science to the test at his own home laboratory.
There's a little aerosol generator here.
He fills a room with a harmless sodium chloride solution and tries out masks one by one. Throughout the pandemic, he's been posting his raw data and analysis on YouTube.
Watching that concentration come down.
He looks for filtration, fit, and comfort, but has his favorites, including the N95 from 3M, the KN95 from Powacom, and from LG, the KF94.
And the KF94 is the South Korean standard. It's their general population mask standard. They designed it for like what would you have to do if you had a pandemic and you needed to mask everyone.
Collins says if you order masks online, get them directly from the manufacturer. If you'd rather pick them up in person, the federal government is rolling out a free mask program in pharmacies around the country. Those masks will be N95 masks. For KN95 masks, Collins says a real one must be labeled with the words KN95, the name of the manufacturer and the standard it was tested against. The CDC says 60% of KN95s on the market are counterfeit. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
Good information there. We want to switch gears now. Russia is not backing down from its border with Ukraine. With thousands of troops in position, analysts say President Vladimir Putin could order an invasion at any time now. As Skylar Henry reports, that has the U.S. taking steps to help its NATO partners and possibly Ukraine.
With Ukrainian troops manning the front lines, the U.S. is preparing to step in if needed. Around 8,500 American troops have now been put on higher alert, ready to deploy at short notice to NATO countries in Eastern Europe.
This is about sending a strong message that we're committed to NATO.
NATO is reinforcing its eastern flank because Russia has 100,000 troops on the border with Ukraine. Moscow says it has no plans to invade, but many don't believe that. In 2014, Russian-backed separatists seized control of the Crimean Peninsula. This Ukrainian soldier says Russia won't stop. There is no negotiating with them.
Here on Capitol Hill, the Biden administration will update House and Senate leaders today on the situation and is making plans to brief all lawmakers in the coming days.
On Monday, President Biden had an 80-minute video call with European allies.
I had a very, very, very good meeting, total unanimity with all the European leaders.
In addition to putting troops on alert, the U.S. is sending $200 million in emergency military assistance and another shipment of military equipment. For its part, Russia says it's watching America's actions with, quote, great concern. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Some lawmakers on Capitol Hill believe sanctions could slow Russia's aggressions, but for now, the Biden administration is focusing on diplomacy. The restaurant industry is asking for another lifeline. The National Restaurant Association requested Congress replenish the Industry Revitalization Fund. Lawmakers created that fund last year, infusing it with $28.6 billion to help struggling bars and restaurants recover from the pandemic. But you can help as well. A week-long chance to support some of our locally owned restaurants in North Little Rock returns. North Little Rock Restaurant Week stems from the Convention and Visitors Bureau's Setting the Table initiative. It focuses on supporting the industry workers who've gone through so much already throughout the entire pandemic. Taking part can help the businesses and in turn stimulate the city's economy. This is the second go-round for North Little Rock Restaurant Week. Dozens of restaurants are participating.
And really trying to create a sense of community for them and show that they have a place here in North Little Rock and they're part of our community and just really supporting them and putting them first and, you know, setting the table for them and their success.
You can, of course, visit these restaurants anytime you want, but the Convention and Visitors Bureau wants to encourage more people to come out this weekend. They're doing so with some incentives, including raffle prizes.